Let me ask you something. You like RPGs? Yeah. You like first-person shooters? Yeah. You like roguelites? Yeah. You like fat bitches with blue hair? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Then let me introduce you to Witchfire. Released in early access on Steam back in September of 2024, Witchfire was made by the Astronauts, a developer whose only previous title was The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, and I'm just going to be upfront and say this game kicks ass. It has a perfect blend of style with the whole Catholic Church versus witches, Spanish Inquisition, witch hunting kind of thing, with sprinklings of RPG elements thrown in with roguelite and FPS elements to form quite the exquisite meal. And today, we're going to be feasting on all of those achievements that the game has to offer as of right now, and what it'll take for you to acquire that sweet Steam blue ribbon. There's only 20 achievements right now as of me making this video, the most common achievement ranking at 76%, and the rarest being only at 7%. There's really only two categories I'd classify the achievements in: combat and everything else. No, for real, like 11 of the 20 achievements are combat related, with the other 9 being more so related to the progression of the game. So actually, I guess to make it sound a little better, we can label it as combat and progression achievements. Before I get started, I do want to say that 1, this game is still in early access and there are things that could change for the time of me making this video, and 2, massive, gigantic spoilers for how some of these achievements are unlocked. I think half the fun of this game are the mysteries about certain things within it and trying to figure them out for yourself. So I plead you to go and play the game first, then come back here when you decide you want the blue ribbon and want to know about how to acquire certain achievements. Or, if you don't care about spoilers, I hope you enjoy the video all the same. So, let's not waste any more time and start witch hunting for some achievements. Starting off, the most common achievement at 76% is Lost and Found. This game shares a feature from the Souls games where if you die, you leave behind your essence and can be retrieved if you make it back to them, which is what this trophy asks you to do. Next up is Soul Sigil, which wants you to stun an enemy by destroying their, you guessed it, Soul Sigil, which can happen when you see a prompt on your screen that says you've entered this battle-focused state. Then, when you dash, you'll see a small red and black orb floating next to an enemy. The next trophy, Arcana, has you collecting 7 of them in one run. Arcana basically acts as your buffs during a particular run, so you'll get this one fairly quickly as long as you're clearing out the dangerous area POIs on your map. Event asks you to finish an event. Simply pull up your map and look for the pentagram symbols, go to one, activate it, and survive through it. Vault Breaker and Curse Chest I'm kind of lumping into one. Vault Breaker asks you to simply complete a vault, and Curse Chest, you just open a chest. The vaults will come a bit later in the game once you level up your Genosis level, which is basically like the heat mechanic if you ever played Hades, but for those of you who haven't played that game, it's basically allows you to access more things in the game, like weapons, new areas, but at the cost of making the overall difficulty of the game increase. Vaults will also typically have a mini-boss at the end of them to deal with, so make sure you're properly prepared for the challenge. The Curse Chest is pretty simple by comparison. All you have to do is find a dark, red glowing chest that'll ask you to break the seal. Once you do, the game will give you a challenge, like defeating all enemies within an allowed area. But once you do that, you can unlock both the chest and this achievement. The last set of achievements all boil down to go find this thing and eliminate this thing. So I'm going to quickly run through them. Gatekeeper asks you to destroy, well, a gatekeeper, which can only be done once 2 individual totems are located in the surrounding area. Faithful asks that you kill a faithful. This actually isn't that difficult, as there's a guaranteed spawn of one at the Iron Gate Castle map where you can summon one for 5,000 of the game's in-game currency and upgrade material, Witchfire. Galley Slave seems like the easiest in theory, as all you gotta do is collect all 7 Arcana while on the Scarlet Coast map, and then boom, this boss spawns in and you can go and kill it. But that's actually a little tougher in practice. The Galley Slave could be pretty difficult the first time around, especially if you're not geared properly for it. Shield Bearer is one of the more annoying achievements in the game because this boss can only be spawned after you cause a calamity, which is an in-game mechanic that punishes you for taking damage, which eventually builds up to causing you to eliminate either the calamity itself or a group of enemies that it can send after you. While it is RNG based, as you have to hope it's one of the things that spawn in when the calamity spawns in, it is pretty easy to trigger these calamity events when you're actively wanting them to happen. So it does beat out the other two more annoying achievements in this game, simply because it's easier to cause calamities than it is for these other two. Master Sentinel, in my opinion, is the most annoying achievement in the game because it is completely RNG. This achievement asks that you destroy a Master Sentinel, which is a special enemy type that can only spawn on the last two islands and has a pretty rare chance to spawn. Thankfully, they can be seen on the in-game map, so if you spawn in, open your map, and you don't see one, you can go back to the hub and try another map or a couple of other various methods to get them to spawn in. But the fact that it's down to chance whether these things spawn or not does make it the most annoying achievement in my opinion. Now, finally, we come to the rarest achievement on this list, and consequently the newest one, Prophet of the Whispering God, which tasks you with killing a boss known as the Prophet. This is the reason I have to have a spoiler warning at the start, and I'll issue it here one last time. Okay, everybody who's still here, ready? To do this, you'll have to solve the puzzle of the Wailing Tower, the tower located at the center of the first map the game lets you explore on. To do so, you have to cleanse the statues outside the door to the tower. Then once you're inside, you'll notice a large skeleton inside a carved out circle, like a clock, with 7 altars adorned along the walls. These altars correspond with one of the 7 obelisks around the map that you'll need to discover. Once done, you simply activate whatever altar corresponds to their obelisk in a chronological order. Thankfully, this is indicated by hovering over the obelisk icon on the map. Then, once that's done, this is where the fun begins, because then you must descend 3 lower levels of the tower, defeating enemies and completing challenges along the way. And each level, you have to take 1 debuff before you can descend down to the next one, which will also replace one of your arcana. So at a bare minimum, you could be entering this boss fight with up to 3 debuffs. The boss fight itself, though, is pretty cool in my opinion. He has some pretty large AoE attacks that can really knock your socks off if you're not careful. But if you're here for the thrill of the achievement hunt, the Prophet will have to go down like all the others. That's pretty much it for the combat section. Most of these you'll get through with normal gameplay. The only ones you'll probably have to go out of your way for are the Shield Bearer, Master Sentinel, and the Prophet of the Whispering God. But with all of those done, let's move on and talk about some of the progression achievements. Hey man, you want some shrooms? Mushrooms ask that you eat all of, well, the different types of mushrooms in the game. There's only 6 types, and they all typically spawn on whatever map you play on, so it's really just a matter of running around and finding them. Research wants you to obtain the first research item, which basically means going up to the magical floating mirror you unlock at level 3 at the hub world and selecting one of the few options to start researching, the progress bar filling up as you run certain maps. Genosis wants you to upgrade your Genosis level to unlock this achievement. I already mentioned Genosis before, but to add a bit more to it, to upgrade your Genosis level, you must complete 3 tasks the game asks of you. This typically being hold a certain amount of Witchfire, eliminating a certain mini-boss, and to first travel to a new map. Mirage wants you to, well, break a Mirage. How do you do that? Well, around the maps, you may have come across these glowing red symbols, and if you walk up to them, provided your Genosis level is high enough, you can spend a certain amount of Witchfire to remove the illusionary wall that the symbols are drawn on. Armamentarium simply has, and I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, simply has us fill every loadout slot that we have, which is 3 weapons, a relic, a ring, and a fetish. Prophecy is unlocked by equipping your first prophecy, which are unlocked by finding them throughout the world. They act as ways to reduce the randomness of the arcana you can acquire through a run. Mysteria asks that you unlock the 3rd Mysteria on a weapon. What is Mysteria? Well, they come in 3 different levels on all your weapons, spells, and equipment, and they can unlock after completing certain tasks, but they will also give your gear special bonuses, like being able to freeze enemies or allowing your bullets to ignite and set them on fire. Lastly, Fallen Prayer requires you to awaken a Fallen Prayer. What does this mean, you might be asking? Well, along your journey, you'll be exploring different maps, increasing your Genosis level, etc. You might come across these mask fragments. You must collect 3 of these mask fragments, increase your Genosis level to level 3, and then collect 50 prayer echoes before you basically can unlock, which is basically amounts to a summon. This achievement will likely be one of the last ones you can unlock due to how far along in the game you have to be. But with that out of the way, let's wrap things up, and we'll even hand out some achievements of our own. Well, with all that being said, we end the game with all 20 of those sweet, sweet achievements, and now let's roll out some of our own. The easiest award goes to Lost and Found for what I would consider the easiest achievement in the game, while the hardest one easily goes to the Prophet of the Whispering God, mostly due to how new this boss is for one, and the challenge, like the challenging run leading up to it. But it is also a recipient of what I would deem as the Doom Slayer award for the most badass achievement you can unlock, because you will feel like one after you beat him. The game itself is very fun. The combat is fast and smooth, and the RPG, roguelite, and FPS elements really do blend together amazingly to bring a pretty fantastic game. That being said, though, there are some criticisms. Most, if not all of them, fall under the banner of content or lack thereof if you're someone like me who fell in love with it and you play the hell out of it. This game is still very much in early access, and therefore a ton of content in the game gets slapped with the coming in the future message. And I basically had everything unlocked and accessible after about 16.5 hours of gameplay. Now, that number can obviously change with varying skill levels of different people who play, so do keep that in mind. Don't get me wrong, I still love this game, and I hope it gets enough love and support from the astronauts and player base to further its development and eventually maybe even come out of early access entirely. But as of right now, judging the game as it stands right now of me making this video, I'm going to have to give it a silver trophy. I really wanted to give it a gold, but the apparent lack of content once you reach the end game, or at least in the end game as it pertains to how it is right now, because it's under the early access umbrella, really is its Achilles heel. But that's it. That's my achievement rundown of Witchfire. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.